everybody. How are you? It is noon Pacific time on Tuesday. So this is Delight and Desire. And I am Brenda Florida, certified life coach. And I am a seeker of expansion. And I love freedom and living an unapologetic, authentic life. And there's so much power and so much joy in living that authentic life, in allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to just be exactly who you are, whatever that is. So welcome. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Zombie Cat 66. There we go. Welcome. So I'm so glad if you're here with me live or if you're watching on a replay, maybe on my YouTube channel. I upload all of our episodes after we're done today to YouTube. So there's a podcast playlist there, and there's a link in my bio. So you can just go to the link in my bio and get any old episodes, previous episodes. Old sounds bad. Anyway, we do this every week. And I know that it can sound good, but also be a little one of those easier said than done things to believe that delight, following what gives us delight and what we desire, is actually like the path, the way in to authentic living. Like that may sound too good to be true to you, which is cool. You can be a doubter, but I have really experienced this in my own life and with clients where we often get hung up or really focused on challenges or painful things or things that aren't working, or, and all of those things are real. I'm not saying they don't exist. But if we can look at it from the standpoint of, okay, so given this situation, what would make it more delightful? Okay. Or get me closer to a desire that I have, like using delight and desire sort of as a litmus test, but also understanding it's not a rigid thing of check the box. This is delight. Check the box. That's desire. Or there's only, whatever off on switches. There's always a spectrum to things, and we can't make everything in life about, oh, it delights me. Oh, I desire this. I don't delight in taking my trash out. Okay. I don't delight in walking my laundry about 300 steps up and down 3 flights of stairs, to the washing facility in my apartment complex. But even if that's getting me, and the laundry thing, like laugh if you want, but that laundry thing, it can really get under my skin sometimes, because I've had my own washer and dryer since I was 18 years old. Good grief. But I chose when I moved here, it's not like it was a surprise. There was no washer and dryer in my unit. I knew it, but for the price I felt like I could pay for an apartment, and because living close to the beach was such a priority, that meant, I needed to be in a studio apartment, and there's no other apartment complex this close to the beach here, and their studios don't have washer and dryer. So I made that choice to sort of sacrifice that and walk my laundry across the complex to do laundry. But I can still bring to it how, if it's really irritating me and getting under my skin, as it does from time to time, then how can I bring more delight to it, right? What could I do? Like if we think of delight and desire as a scale of 0 being neutral to 10 being, orgasmic, then there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of space between neutral and orgasmic, okay? There's also a lot of space between neutral and something negative, like, trauma being the farthest end of the negative scale. So sometimes what's most authentic and ideal for us is just to move that needle some, and it could be 2 or 3 points, right? We're not going to be able to move everything to a +10. But if I can take something that's a -5 and move it to a -2, that's still a big difference. That's still an upgrade in my life. So I wonder if this sort of makes sense. And maybe you have, for those of you who are on live, maybe you have a situation you want to drop in the comments that is something that you don't really enjoy doing, but you can't offload it, right? Like, changing the baby's dirty diapers or taking the trash out, or, even if you have a spouse who might take the trash out, you probably have some other thing that you do that you don't enjoy doing, like whatever. I'm single, so I do all the things. There's no spouse to take the trash out. But maybe there's a thing that you just feel like, no, there's no delight in this. There's no desire for me in it, and I have to do it, and this gets us into that mindset of just sort of like, suck it up and push forward and all that kind of stuff. And those things take us away from our authentic self-expression. They take us away from being true to our real truth. But staying true to my truth doesn't mean I don't like taking my laundry across the complex, so I'm just not doing it anymore, right? Like, our truth is not a precocious 2-year-old. So what we can do then is sort of put the mind in service of the truth and say, okay, this laundry thing is really irritating me. What could I do to make it better? What could I do to make it slightly more desirable? A little easier, a little more fun, whatever. So, like, sometimes I divide my laundry up and I'll do it in 2 different days, because then it's less it's heavy to carry laundry, and I can't use a cart or anything because of all the steps. So these are my practical life problems. So you've got something else in your life that is this way, and it may seem, quote unquote, silly in the grand scheme of life in the world, like my laundry is, but it impacts you. And there are so many ways that we end up one by one sort of getting off of our truth because of some version of we think we have to, right? Whether it's having sex with our husband when we don't want to, whether it's, or wife, like, it doesn't matter. I said that because I tend to think of having sex with men because I'm straight, but like, fuck that. It doesn't matter what the gender is. You're having sex when you don't want to. Okay. But the mind is like, oh, be a good sport. They want to, it'll make them happy. Like, your mind is talking you out of it. And your truth is saying, no, don't want to. So there are many ways in life, in these small decisions, that we move away from our truth. It doesn't have to just be like, I think a lot of times when we think of these ideas of living authentically and, tapping into our delights and desires and being our unapologetic self, we're thinking about big things, maybe career, lifestyle, like big things. But and those apply. But it's also true in the minutia level, okay? So am I, in my fashion, am I wearing clothes, whether I'm really into fashion or not, am I wearing clothes that feel good to me? I feel good when I wear them. They feel like an authentic expression of me, or am I just wearing it because somebody else thinks it's cute, or it's fashionable or trendy right now, or whatever? Like, authentic self-expression is everything. I mean, it's in every part of our life. So I'm curious where you might feel like it's actually hard for you to be truthful, to live in your truth. Now we've got Pride Month. Also, as I'm asking you these questions, if you don't feel like putting them in the comments because it seems too personal, which I totally understand, you just don't want to share it, just DM me and we'll have a conversation over there privately. Or you can always book a 15-minute call too, and we can chat there and talk about whether or not you want to get into a coaching relationship with me. But DM, I think, is awesome for these kind of personal questions that I know I'm asking, because there's no point. Like, why the fuck am I going to show up here every week to talk about everything that's all socially acceptable or something? Like, I want to get into it, because that's where the transformation happens. The transformation starts to happen when I take something like my fucking laundry and I put more delight in it. I make it better for me. And then I take something else that is like that to me, just irritating, or just some kind of little upgrade. Like, I just bought myself this new rug. I'm not sure I put a picture on Facebook or Instagram. I don't know why I still say that. I'm not even on, well, I mean, technically I'm on Facebook, but I never use it. I never go there. Anyway, I'll do a post about this after we get off, because I got this new gorgeous rug. I'm looking at it. That's why I'm looking away from the camera. That from Ruggables, and it has flamingos and parrots. It is so colorful and just brightens up my whole little tiny apartment so much. I fucking love it. Now, there was nothing wrong with the other coffee table and rug that I had. When I got them, they brought me delight. But I started noticing it wasn't bringing me any delight anymore. And I saw this rug, probably on an Instagram ad, right? It's a Ruggables rug. Iris Apfel in her line. I love her. And so it caught my attention. I looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would bring me so much joy, so much delight. I'm going to do it. And so boom, that was just being authentic. Paste. So Sherry says, you will not paste wax a car at all. Spray the wax, you don't mind, but then you love doing it with your hubby. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, like there's just, all kinds of things like that. Authentic expression is also in the minutia. It's not just in the big decisions of who we're in relationship with, the kind of work we do, the kinds of things we contribute to, the way we spend our money, the way we express ourselves. All of that, is part of it too. But that's where we tend to go. And it starts from these little things. Like I was getting ready to say when I interrupted myself, it is Pride Month, right? So I love Pride Month. I love anything that supports us being honored and respected and accepted for exactly who we are. I don't care what it is. I don't care whether it's your culture, the color of your skin, the way you sexually express yourself, the way you love, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you express your gender or, lack thereof, so to speak, in the non-binary. Like I'm reading this excellent book about gender from written by Ray McDaniel. And I did a post on that with a picture of it. Gender Magic. So if you look at my profile grid, you'll see that there. Go get that book. I mean, it is such a great book about gender in all kinds of ways, right? And even as a cis woman, it is super encouraging and enlightening to me, right? Not just to understand in ways that I couldn't, on my own, maybe understand a gender bending journey because I haven't had one. But here's what most of us have in common, which is that in some way or another, we have compromised our authentic nature in order to fit in order to be accepted, in order to be loved, by our family, by our culture, whatever the container is. We've given up pieces of our truth or hidden them or whatever it is. That's, again, spectrum of experience. Oh yeah, Sherry, Ray is amazing. And I'm sorry if I referred to Ray as a she. Did I do that? I don't know. Anyway, Ray is likes they as a pronoun. So if I said that wrong, that's such a strong conditioning. Even when I'm trying to be really intentionally aware of it, I can so easily drop back into he and she instead of they. But Ray is amazing. Yeah. And she see, there I did it. They have a great way. Thank you. Thanks, Sherry. They have a great way of addressing authenticity. And so what I would say to everyone who identifies in any of those, from like indigenous culture, color of your skin, sexual orientation, expression, gender, trans, all the things, that you don't deserve, of course, you do not deserve that external pressure and beyond pressure, right? Violence, hatred, for being who you are. You deserve the space, just like everybody else does, even if everybody else is doing it in a way that's more socially acceptable, to discover and express who you truly are at any given point in your life. Because expressing our truth is not like a one and done thing. It's, how I would have expressed the truth of who I am 10 years ago is very different than how I will express it today in many ways. I mean, some things are I'm sure the same, but there are so many ways that I have evolved and started to understand the distinction between thinking something was my truth because it was what I was cultured into, and something truly being my truth. We have so much cultural influence from our family, from the culture at large, media, all kinds of things that will make us think something is authentic to us, and it is just a conditioned response. It is a coping mechanism. But it feels so true. One of my examples of this is that I spent, 10 years probably, maybe longer than that, in my first marriage, feeling like I was frigid. Hated having sex, was always saying no, just like once I had those 4 kids, right? And I got pregnant really easy, so it didn't take a lot of sex to have 4 kids. And so, making up the excuses, blah, blah, blah. And as I was getting divorced in my mid-30s, one of my first thoughts when I realized, it was over was like, oh, yay, I never have to have sex again. And because I felt like that was my truth, okay? I thought I was frigid. Now, that was based on experiences I had, sexually I didn't like them, so cause and effect, right? That kind of Newtonian thinking. This plus this equals that. So I'm like, okay, so I must be frigid. And so the idea of giving my, self permission to never have sex again and be like, woohoo, one of the benefits of being single, felt really affirming of that. Like in a way, it was a way of allowing that, like letting that be okay instead of judging it, which I did all the time I was married, because it's what caused our problems sexually. Because none of those things are true, which is why I put them in air quotes. But Fast forward 6 months or so later, I have my first boyfriend. I'm just like, oh, you have a boyfriend, sex is going to be part of it. And I had started having some sort of sense of, well, maybe it could be different. Now, keep in mind, I had one sexual experience up to that point in my life, which was my husband. So it's not like I was this well-versed, well-practiced person in my sexual life. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll give it a try. So I have sex with my boyfriend, and it was fucking fantastic. And I was like, oh, turns out I'm not frigid. I actually love having sex. So yeah, Sherry, to your point, we are walking conditioned responses. We are so much our conditioned response that we a lot of times don't even know what the truth is. Okay. And that's okay. It's part of the journey. That's not a criticism. I had to be where I was to get where I got, So I'm just saying, don't think of your truth as like, oh, this is, I'm planting my flag in the ground here. This is who I am. I mean, there are certain ways, and I don't even like now that I use that as the metaphor, because there are certain things I'm planting my flag in the ground for. Again, everyone has the right. It is your birthright to be exactly who you are and not to fear ridicule or being underserved or hate or violence because of who you are. Okay? It's not just white cis people or white cis men especially who get to be in the safe category. Okay? So that's an unmovable thing that I stand for. But so like I'm saying, like there are things about my truth, I'll say, that really don't move, and other things that do. So, I mean, I came out of a culture that was super judgmental towards anybody and racist, so if you're not cis white, men are the best, women second best, straight, of course, the only way to be, that's God's way, right? Whatever. So I used to have a lot of judgment, until I realized how fucked up that was. And so I began to realize, like, of course not. Like, God didn't make people wrong. There wasn't a mistake. Like, I'm not a big God slinger, but I do believe there is a higher power. I do believe there is a divine creative force in the universe that, it's not an accident that we're all unique. We're all different. And whatever creates that, they weren't making a mistake when they made somebody who was different than me, different than my parents, not white, not cis, not straight. Like, that's not a mistake. It's just as gorgeous and divinely made as anything else. I mean, it would be like, looking at a tulip and thinking it's not how it's supposed to be. Everything should be a rose. No. It's all beauty all the time. And everyone has that right. And so I will stand on that. And within that, then you get to have the free-flowing, your own journey into what does that mean for you? How am I going to express myself now? It doesn't matter how you expressed yourself before. It doesn't matter how you will express yourself in the future. It's about truth is a very present moment thing. So it's how do I want to express myself now? I suspect if you went back into my Instagram profile grid and went back historically, you could listen to a reel from, even maybe only a year ago, and for sure a couple years ago, or, go back very many years, it would have been a Facebook Live, and listen to me talk about what I do as a coach, what I, believe, just like we're doing here. And that you would hear some differences. I don't even know what, because I've not taken the time to go listen to it. But I know that my truth and how I talk about it is ever evolving because I am evolving. I am not a flag in the sand. I am evolving. And so my truth evolves with me, or my truth is really actually probably the catalyst to all that growth, but chicken and egg. So this week for Delight and Desire, I want you to really think about some of the small things, some of that minutia in your life, and think about it from that perspective of, I'm not trying to make this orgasmic, but how could I get it from a negative, like I would say my laundry, probably a -3. I mean, it is laundry after all. In a scale of 0 to -10, maybe it's a -3. And so so what I've started doing is incorporating these things, not always the same. It's different sometimes. Sometimes I do it in 2 different days, so I don't have to carry as much. Sometimes I alternate my loads, more trips, but not as heavy, like whatever. Sometimes I'm listening to music when I do it because that's just a nice distraction. Whatever. I just have my little things that I do that bring more delight to that thing that is just an ugh chore to me than if I didn't. So it's that level of consciousness and being tuned into, how could I add some delight to this? How could I make this just a little bit better? And then DM me or come back next week and share with me what it is you did, how you dialed a little delight into it that you don't typically bring to it. So I hope that resonates. Does that make sense for those of you who are on live? Do you already know what thing you want to play with? And it might take a little imagination, right? Because it's very easy for us to be like, well, no, I just have to do that. And there's no way to make it better, right? Like, I'm just like, well, I still have to do 3 flights of stairs. Laundry's still heavy. There's nobody else to carry it. I tried a cart. It's too much of a pain. It makes going up and down all the steps so much harder. It doesn't matter that I can roll it across the parking lot. There's a diminishing return because I have all these steps to navigate, and a cart is too clunky and hard to work with there. So like, it can be very easy for the mind to shut down that inner truth that says, no, I bet there's some way we can make this better. Some way we could bring some more delight in it. And so just allow yourself to kind of play with that, make it a game with yourself, make it a game with a friend. Like, I hate doing this thing. What can I do to make it better, or whatever, right? Because again, even though it may seem like minutia, and in the grand scheme of life, it makes a difference, and it starts to show you a new way. So as Sherry commented, we are all conditioned responses. What I do as a coach is help you change that conditioning. So it becomes, my conditioned response is from my truth, not from something outside of me, not from culture, not from wanting to please somebody else. It is about me for me. And when that becomes my habitual conditioned response, that's authentic living. So have a beautiful week. Let's really be, extra overt about supporting and loving on and creating a safe space for everyone in the LGBTQIA++ communities, because plus, I think I missed a plus, because you deserve it. You shouldn't have to do anything for it. And I can't wait until we don't need to have a Pride Month, because it's just not necessary anymore. So love you. Take care. Have a great week. Thanks, Sherry. Love you too.